Why psychology should be a religion. Welcome. An introduction to the importance of psychology, Part 2. Now then. Religion in itself is a slightly complicated subject. Each time and land have some kind of a religion associated with it. There are peaceful religions and some more extreme ones. To each their own. This post is not about which religion is more superior or why. People are free to believe whatever they wish. But religion does have a safety feature, which, perhaps, is what makes it appealing to some still, even when living in the age of science and technology that we live in today. Considering the growth of evolution and civilization, it can seem rather outdated to keep believing in the story about one man creating our world in 7 days. But with progress comes change, and change can be a rather scary thing. It can be quite frightening to let go of things that one knows best, when one morning that knowledge and skill are announced as outdated. In this fast-paced world that is overflowing with challenges, religion can be a safe haven for some of us, because it stays the same. Most religions haven't changed much since their creation. It is that feature that makes them something stable, something familiar, something reliable. It is due to that sense of familiarity and unchangingness that some people choose to stay religious to this day. That is exactly why religion is so appealing. Even if here in Europe, for example, its roots are soaked in blood. But of course, even growing up in a religious household, some adults choose to stop being religious later in life simply because, as mentioned before, to each their own. There is no denying that the church has done some questionable things back in the day. Some of which these days could be trialed at the Hague Tribunal. Bear in mind that it was the church who sentenced Galileo Galilei for his findings of the earth rotating around the sun, instead of it being the other way round. Of course, the great man of science was spared his life. But it does not change the fact that it was religion that fought against his findings the most. And the church only did that because those findings meant change, and that change was frightening to some. The one good thing about religion were, and still are, the 10 Commandments. It was, probably, the first attempt to spread some guidelines, morals and values. The problem with it, though, was the method used to implement them. Religion's crucial flaw, back in the day, was that it relied too much on threats and fear to spread its teachings. Yet despite that, people devoted themselves to it without fail. Why? Because people fear the unknown. Change is something that is necessary to survive, but change is often scary, because it's not always possible to predict its outcome, and that is why some of us fear it. Out of all of the feelings and emotions, fear is the easiest to control. To a point. Everything has its limits, and so does fear. But more about that another time. Now then, let's circle back to psychology. It does not rely on anything besides the human intellect and analytical capacity. Successful use of psychology requires observation and analysis. It all starts with asking the right questions, and it ends with looking for the answers. Unlike the church back then, psychology does not diminish the human intellect. Rather, it empowers it and encourages it. If religion tends to differ from country to country, or even within one country, making it sometimes rather difficult for people of different religions to understand each other, then psychology has the upper hand here. Psychology helps to look for differences and to understand them. It does not judge. It explains. Psychology nurtures human communication to the highest level. It is able to trace back ideas, actions and beliefs to their point of origin within a person or an entire culture, or even a country. With the help of its analysis, it is able to understand their reasoning. People often have trouble understanding one another, because they perceive the same things differently. Why is that? Different teachings and personal experiences cause people to focus on different beliefs and different aspects of the same topic. That is when quantity comes into play. When people are unable to understand each other's differences, the majority, who share the same understanding of something, regardless of it being correct or not, will be declared the right side, simply because there is more of them. Isn't that what happened to Mr. Galilei? Now, psychology does not rely on numbers to be right. Rather, it explains why the numbers believe to be right. Look at it this way, plenty of people know that smoking is bad for them, and yet plenty of them choose to smoke still. Even the reasons behind that are explained with the help of psychology. Now, back to the main point: why psychology should be a religion. Because if psychology was taught today, with the same level of devotion as religion used to be taught back in the day, within each household, then more people now would be able to understand each other better. You have reached the end of this post. Thanks for listening, stay tuned for more, and always remember, mental health is important. Take care. If any of this made you think about where you stand, good. That's where change begins. Sometimes we don't need answers, just the right kind of questions. And if you ever feel like you could use a place to pause, reflect, or just figure things out, you'll find a few ideas waiting for you at the Jazz of Psychology. More on psychology pros and cons in the next video. And who can handle them?